yeah. So yeah, talking about emptiness and non-duality is important to clarify different. Yeah, and I've had similar experiences. Just as we were talking initially about people who can get caught in the initial stage of initial practices of one pointed attention and go into that sauna or meditation or comfortably numb. Once you do the initial waking up from the small self, you realize, oh, it's just thought, there's nothing there. And the map you have then says the goal is no self, that in those three, dukkha, suffering, anicca is change, everything's changing, and anatta is no self. And it's as if, okay, well, I see what suffering is being a self. I see everything's changing, and now no self. So there's no self. And then I'm done. But it literally is just the early next stage. It's, oh, I'm a small self. Oh, it's not a small self. It's a changing content. There isn't a solid self. Oh, there's not knowing. That's not me. There's centerlessness. There's just no thing. And that is the not knowing. But then if you stop there, you have to create an intellectual version of that, where you start getting very, very upset about people who are like, there is no self. Don't you understand? You got to understand. Don't say there's a self, but there's no self. Who's saying that? There's no, what do you mean? It's just being said. There's just word, so it becomes like, okay. There's like, I go to the grocery store and things end up in my cart. There's no chooser. There's no doer anymore. Really? Okay. That's really interesting. Now, what ends up in your cart? Is it things that are random that you don't like to eat, or a lot of cat food and you don't even have a cat? No, it's how did those end up in there? And who's doing that? Anyhow, so it seems to be that in this kind of Mahamudra structure, which is why I like more Mahamudra style than even Dzogchen style. But even in Dzogchen, non-duality means ultimate reality is there is this pure awareness, no contents, timeless, boundless, empty, no thing, is none other human being, energy, things, and people. And they're not two. So the Buddhist non-duality is the ultimate and the relative are not two. It's also sometimes called the two truths. Whereas some of the more Neo-Advaita and others, they're calling ultimate reality or pure awareness non-dual, but it's actually just not dualistic. This is dualistic. That's not dualistic, but it's not non-dual because it's a new dualism. Because the metaphor they use is, I am the awareness, everything else is illusion, or everything else is coming and going. It's not real, only awareness is real. It's like a movie screen. I'm the movie screen of awareness, everything else is the movie. So then that to me sounds like two. I don't know. That's not two. The not two is what in Mahamudra is called, you go from everyday mind, the subtle body, subtle mind, which is mindfulness, to awake awareness, which is Dharmakaya, pure awareness, same thing that they're talking about in more, that type of pure awareness, non-duality. Then the next one's called simultaneous mind, or same taste, or one taste. One taste, same taste, is the big move that it's not even on the map of a lot of people. So same taste means that pure awareness that's aware of itself, by itself, as itself, when it looks, it's not a movie screen with everything coming, going. It's more of an ocean and wave. The energy is a rising made of awareness. And the pattern of sensation and thought is not other than awareness. It's a wave made of the ocean of awareness, so that there's this non-duality. There are not two things going on. The primary dimension is the awareness, but it expresses itself as emptiness and appearance. Emptiness, appearance are not two. So the key then becomes also two types of emptiness. Emptiness is used in two ways. It's used to be empty of, meaning void or not a thing, like an empty cup. But that's really kind of a Western. There's a stage where you could say, okay, it's empty, or you could say, but you wouldn't even use emptiness to say contentless, boundless awareness. You would just say pure, or you would say, because emptiness is defined in Theravada, let alone in Mahayana and Dzogchen Mahamudra, as empty of a separate thing. So there's not a self, but that doesn't mean there's nothing there. It's empty of being independent. There's no independent tree, because a tree is not a tree without water, sun, and earth. So it's empty of being separate, not empty of existence. So interdependent means interconnected. So emptiness is interconnection. So emptiness is the non-separate thingness of which means everything's dancing. Emptiness means that it is ultimate and relative are not two, and it forms into patterns of things, but those things are intermediate. So there's, in Buddhism, there's Dharmakaya, which is pure awareness. Then there's Sambhogakaya, which is the energetic, imagistic, dreamlike quality. And then there's Nirmanakaya, which is relative reality. And in that case, they're not three. There's three dimensions, but they're all. So they don't use unity or oneness, but they're trying to say, yeah, there's the foundation of it's arising as something that appears differently, but appearance is not different. And then the fifth stage after pure awareness and then simultaneous mind, which means simultaneously awareness and relative reality, then there is bodhicitta, which is heart mind or compassionate activity, or the feeling of love, the feeling that the fabric is basic goodness and all at onceness.
Yeah, that's a completely different description of emptiness than the nihilistic, cold, bleak one that some people think emptiness refers to. And then you mentioned this earlier with Thich Nhat Hanh, like this idea of interbeing, and to me that it really speaks to it. It's like there's the aspect of the ocean and the waves, and there's the stillness and the liveliness, and it's all the same thing, and it's no thing.
It's stillness, not just stillness. They say in Mahamudra, one of the classic things is everything's made of stillness, movement, and awareness. So it's not, even some, it's like, well, you're trying to get still or silent, but that's just half of it. There's also movement. And then the source is awareness.